Welcome into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Now, man, I mean, just after the adversity leading up to that game, during the game even, how proud of the team are you of seeing the way they handled it again, both before the game and during it?
Extremely proud. The way they handled the whole week, the way they handled the travel, the practices, the focus, just coming back with the composure in the second half after going down 3 points, after being up 17, then coming back and storming and putting up 51 points. I thought it was outstanding.
Did it feel weightier because of this and feeling like you're playing for a city and that more was on the line than a typical, even already weightier division game would feel?
It definitely felt heavier because you know what was going on back in Tampa. So, you know, everybody had an eye out because property and families and life, death situations that come up down here. You don't know what you're coming back to, and you pour your heart out to everybody that stayed behind. And so it was definitely a tough game.
What was it like that week trying to prep there, move all of your operations there, still try to create some sense of normalcy and get all the prep work that you guys needed to do? What were some of the biggest challenges of that, and then maybe even some pros that came from families and everyone being all together?
The biggest challenge is, you know, getting all the pets and everybody else and the families on the plane and making sure they're situated, they're fed, they're roomed, they're comfortable that way so that the players can focus on nothing but football. And we tried to keep the schedule as normal as possible. And those were challenges going in, but I thought they handled it well.
Did you have any positive memories that you think will come out of this, looking back at all the families, all the pets, all the chaos at the hotel?
I don't want to be away that long again.
Yeah. You're a fan of your own home, your own bed. We don't need to do that. I like it. Do you feel, in all your years in the NFL as a player and a coach, where does this rank in terms of just kind of one of the craziest weeks and situations, and then even how crazy the game was with so many ups and downs during it?
It ranks second behind the one 2 years ago when we had to go to Miami. That one was more chaotic because half the people flew, half the people drove, and there were, you know, more pets than cats and dogs. There were hamsters, there was a snake, there was some fish, and there was a rabbit, and it was like Noah's Ark. So that experience was very different. This one was more streamlined, and it was less chaotic.
Franchise record in yards, second highest points in franchise history. Tell us why this game for the offense ended up in that kind of an explosion.
The two running backs on the offensive line and Chris Godwin. You know, Chris ran like a running back. Sean made plays, Bucky made plays, Baker made plays in the second half. The offensive line came out and came off the ball, and, you know, it was just when you get to pick which guy is going to be great, and they have so many guys to defend, it makes it very hard.
4 of the 6 games this season have already been over 30 points, which already matches the number of games you hit last year at that mark. What has Liam Cohen already meant to this offense and the way that it's been able to influence the team already?
I think the way he gives Baker the plays and communicates to him what he wants, and Baker going out and having options at the line of scrimmage and doing a great job putting us in the right plays and getting what we want and getting the right angles, and not just saying run, pass, or pass, run, is putting us in some great spots.
Yeah, you mentioned the running game, 277 yards rushing. First time to pass 200 yards rushing in 4 years, and not only just all those yards, but your two backs averaged 5.8 and 9.7 per carry. What stands out about the run game overall, and then we can kind of get into each guy individually a bit, but again, why this game, and how are the ways you feel like you're going to be able to try to keep this going, knowing that maybe that number isn't necessarily possible every game, but what this could mean for the run game moving forward?
It gives you a lot of confidence because the more success the run game has, the offensive line gets more aggressive because they're doing it over and over again. And the best way to beat somebody is to wear them down. And the offensive line started wearing them down, and then Bucky and Sean were making some great cuts and some great runs coming around the corner. They were outrunning everybody, they were slashing, and it just became a snowball and started rolling downhill.
And I know we'd talked about last week, you know, watching the way that a rookie like Bucky can handle, you know, a little bit of adversity at the end of that Falcons game. How was he going to bounce back? What was so special about this game for him coming off of that, and then just what this means for him as a rookie to kind of be putting these numbers up already?
It was great for him because he was making some tough runs. He wasn't trying to score every play. He was slamming it up in there when he had to slam it up in there. He was slicing back when he had to slice back. He protected well. He caught the ball well, him and Sean both. And for him to come back after the fumble last week is great to see.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Tucker, before that game, he had 53 yards of total offense in his career, and then ended up with 136 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and then 56 yards and a touchdown receiving. I don't know that that's a wild stat line for anybody, much less a guy who is sort of so green and young still in this league. What did you see of this game, and what does it mean for him moving forward? I hear you guys talk a lot about when players almost force you guys to put them on the field more, give them the ball more. What does this mean for Sean moving forward?
He needs to get on the field more. Instead of a two-headed monster, we'll have a three-headed monster, but he has great contact balance. He was All-American in college. He was first-team All-American. A lot of people don't know that at Syracuse, so he knows how to run the football, but he has speed. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's very heady and very aware, and I think he just went out and played free, and you saw the results.
You guys were 4 of 5 in the red zone against the team that coming into the game had the best red zone defense. What had they been so good at in that area, and then how were you guys able to put up those kind of numbers in the red zone against a team that hadn't been given that up?
They make it tough on you. They got a veteran secondary. They all can see the ball very well. They're very stout up front, and you really have to earn everything you get. I thought we had a great game plan going in for the red zone. Those guys executed very well.
I know we're going to talk about some of the highs of Baker's game. Let's start. I know 3 interceptions, not what he wants, not what the team wants. Amazing to still be able to put up the kind of numbers you guys did. Despite that, it makes it even more impressive. Take us through those 3 interceptions and what went wrong.
One bounced off of Jalen's hands. It went in the air. The other one was tipped, and it bounced the wrong way, and they got the interception that way. One of them he shouldn't have thrown, but they were getting the ball in the red zone. The defense stopped them once. It set up about 17 points, I think they got. Off of those turnovers, but we didn't flinch at halftime. We just talked about composure, talking about coming back. Baker settled down. He came back with a vengeance, and, he pulled it out for us.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Right before the break, we were talking about Baker Mayfield in the game that he had. He started 9 for 9. Then went 1 for 8 in a couple of the interceptions, but finished with 325 yards and 4 touchdowns. I feel like he played 3 games all in one. And sometimes we'll hear, the tale of 2 halves. This had so many interesting sort of segments to it. So how do you evaluate his game overall looking at that?
He played a great 3 quarters. The second quarter was one to forget because that's when they got all their points. That's when we had all our turnovers. And the first, the third, and the fourth quarter, he was outstanding. He collected himself at halftime. He came back out. He just hit the open man, and those guys ran with the football. So he played winning football for us in the second half, and he pulled the game out, and that's all that counts.
And I know that having Luke Gedeke back was definitely exciting for everyone on the offense and the offensive line. What did you see in his ability to come back after missing a lot of time, both in the run and pass game?
Big push. It was a big push for us, especially in the run game. Still got some technical work to work on in the pass game, but he was a big help for us. Luke's a tough guy. He's heavy. He leans on it. They run behind him, and he delivers every time.
And then Graham Barton was out with an injury, so Robert Hainsey stepped in. How did he handle that?
Andy did great. I mean, to come in and play, had not played all year. He's a heady football player. He's a tough football player. He's a smart football player. The chemistry is great when he's in there as well as when Graham's in there, and he did a heck of a job.
We obviously saw the offensive line had a great game when it comes to the run game. What did you see from them in pass protection?
Pass protection wasn't bad. Baker, I think he was sacked twice. 2 times I think they had great coverage, and he had to eat it once here and there. But for the most part, we kept him clean, and he made some throws, and he got the ball down the field.
As you mentioned earlier when we talked about the offensive explosion, it was running backs, and Chris Godwin was essentially what I imagine is written on Liam Cohen's play sheet at the end of that game. Chris Godwin finishes with 11 catches, 125 yards, couple touchdowns. It's his 5th game with over 100 yards and multiple touchdowns since 2019, which is tied for the 5th most in the league over that span. What stood out for this game? I mean, I know he's been just Mr. Consistent all year, but this definitely was one of his bigger games.
I thought it was one of our better yak yard games. Yards after catch between Chris, between Sean, between Bucky. The 3 of them were breaking tackles and making a lot out of nothing. Basically 5-yard passes turned into 50-yard plays and 30-yard plays and 20-yard plays, which kills us as a defense when we go against it. But, it was great to be on the other side of it.
Take us through his 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, the one he caught behind the line of scrimmage, I think he broke about 3 or 4 tackles, and he bounced off some. They didn't wrap up, and he took it all the way to the house. I mean, it was unbelievable to see, and that to me was the game breaker and the back breaker right there, the play he made. You can see him, even when he caught the ball before the half and pushed the guy down and got a stiff arm down, and he was into it, and he was excited on the sideline, and the energy he played with in the run game and in the pass game, it showed why he had the game he had.
I know Sterling Shepard, he's had to step up these last few games here. He had 31 yards rushing, 23 yards receiving. I know he also got a few penalties that seemed to come out of a lot of times enthusiasm, maybe we can call it, for the game.
Yeah, let's call it enthusiasm.
We'll call it enthusiasm. So tell me about his game overall and what he's brought.
He needs to be less enthusiastic, but he brings a lot of energy. He can make plays for us in the run game and in the pass game. Get a little overexcited in the blocking game, and we just got to calm him down that way, but he's definitely a spark for us.
At least he's willing to get in there as a wide receiver on the blocking game. I imagine that what do you always say?
Battle.
You'd rather say whoa than sick 'em, something like that?
That's half the battle.
Cade Otton also got a touchdown and several key blocks. What did you see from his game?
He was huge in the run game. Huge in the run game. He got the big touchdown down there when Baker scrambled, had nowhere to go. Cade has been steady for us. He's steady. He's like our offensive Anthony Nelson. He does a lot of things that Nelly does on defense that goes unnoticed, but he's always in there making plays.
Always good to have one on each side of the ball, for sure. Take us through the decision to go for 2 after Cade's touchdown.
Well, analytics say we should have went for 2 and gone up. So they need a touchdown, a field goal, and a 2-point play. You know, it was touch and go right there for a minute, but in hindsight, I thought it could have went either way. We tried to go for 2 just to stretch it out in case it came to that point.
And then I know even Ryan Miller got a key play, 1 catch for 39 yards. And I was just thinking about how this game felt like so many of those next man up things that you say, that's always the idea, and what an epitome of that as well. So what felt like, how many people stepped up and performed in a way that maybe people wouldn't have even expected heading into the game?
Well, Ryan stepped up. I know he made a big play. I'm sure he wasn't on their scouting report. And they left him open. He takes advantage of his opportunity. He did some great job. He did a great job blocking in the run game as well. You can see the guys break outside, and a lot of that was because of him doing a hell of a job blocking. He had the 1 catch. He plays the right way. He knows how to play, and the game's not too big for him.
All right, we're going to take another break here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. We talked a little bit about the kind of emotional ups and downs of the game. For you guys, it's so wild to think if you took out the second quarter, you would have won 51-0. That is a wild game, and then that quarter. So tell me, in your mind, what happened first to second quarter, and then again the message at halftime that helped you guys be able to come out of that?
The first quarter, we got off to a great start. I thought the offense went right down the field and scored. Defense was getting them out. Second quarter, we started turning the ball over. Then they got a special teams touchdown. They got 2 scores that were deep in the red zone when we turned it over. Then we turned it over a third time. And we had to fight just to get to the half. It was 27-24. The message at halftime was composure. It was all about keeping composure. Anytime we play the Saints, it's going to be one of those heated games. And a team that keeps their composure more, and usually it's the turnover battle, but I think that ended up even. So we thought we could move the ball if we just stayed composed. We stayed composed. We made some adjustments on defense, and they came out and executed.
I know they always say winning cures all, and so that helps cover some of the penalties that I'm sure otherwise you wouldn't be super thrilled with. But coming into the game, we were the least penalized team by yards in the NFL. Ended up with 12 for 86 yards. What stands out about the penalties this game? Is this one of those, it's a really loud place to play and that had a big effect, or did you see any sort of common denominators among that to be able to come back from that afterward?
It wasn't a crowd because Detroit was loud. Detroit was probably the loudest place, so it's just a concentration thing. The energy was high. We knew it was a divisional game after everything that happened during the week, and they came out a little more emotional than normal. We did, as a matter of fact, and we had to calm them down some at halftime and make sure we streamline it and they come out and execute to win the game.
Tyke Smith, man, forced fumble, in my opinion, a second forced fumble. And then also, his interception, just an incredible game for him. And, I feel like you've been bragging about him since the offseason of his IQ. What stood out about this game in particular, and is this the kind of game that he's actually been having? Maybe there aren't as many of these kind of plays, but has he been this kind of consistent all season?
He's been consistent all season, with the exception of the last game. He had 2 mistakes, but other than that, he's been consistent. He filled out the stat sheet. He had pressures, he had quarterback hits, he had turnovers, he had TFL, he had pass breakups. He's just a heck of a football player. He's a joy to coach, he's a joy to watch. Comes out with the same energy every day. Reminds me of a young Winfield when he came in, and to see him, Winfield, and Jordan back there all at the same time, it makes you smile a little bit.
Warmed your defensive coordinator heart
It
just
did.
a little bit.
It really did.
Tell me, getting to see Antoine come back and play alongside Jordan, what did you see from the 2 of them, and what that has let you do as a coordinator with the 2 of them back there?
Well, really, with the 2 of them back there, the communication's better. But when Winfield and Casey back at the same time, you could feel the defensive presence because Casey was getting pressures and Winfield was making plays, and you started to feel the defense come back to feel like normal.
And then Zion got an interception. He got his first career one earlier this season. Now he got his second one in this game. And I know you talked about Tyke had a couple plays he would have liked to have back in the Falcons game. I know Zion was the same way. What was it like to watch him come back and still play so aggressive in this game and be able to make plays like that?
He's a very confident player, and as you saw by the interception, he's very athletic. He is extremely athletic. He's extremely confident. He knows he can be better, but he knows how good he's getting. And you can see it every week, him grow and grow. He's going to be a heck of a corner in this league.
I'm sure you were excited to get Kalijah back as well. Tell me what you saw from his first game back from injury.
He got a lot of pressures. He moves around the line of scrimmage, made a lot of people make mistakes. He freed up KJ and Levante more, and you can start seeing us play a little faster with him up there.
And then Vita, a sack for a 3rd game in a row, which ties his longest streak of his career. Just take us through the impact he had on this game, and then overall the impact he's been making on quarterbacks these last few games since coming back.
He really shut down the inside run game with Kamara because he was making plays every week before he got to us yesterday, and we knew that was a sticking point for them, running the football. And he's becoming a heck of a pass rusher as well. We're starting to move him around a little bit more. He's starting to feel his freedom a little bit more, and with Casey back, the 2 of them are starting to make some plays.
All right, we have one more segment coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We're going to get into that upcoming Monday Night Football game. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Let's get into this Monday night game. I know with such an emotional roller coaster these last few weeks, how do you make sure that the guys now are able to come into this next game, primetime game against a good opponent, with the right mindset?
Well, just making sure their homes are okay first from the hurricane. They're making sure they're healthy, understanding we can be a good team, but we got to beat good teams to be a good team, and we got a heck of an opponent coming up, so going to need a good week of practice.
All right, let's start with Lamar Jackson. Tell me what it's like to face that guy as a defensive coordinator.
It's a nightmare when you can run and throw, especially a guy of his caliber with that type of speed and that type of accuracy. It makes him a 2-headed monster.
And I'm sure when they added Derrick Henry, you were just like, that's not why.
Tough sledding. That's tough sledding. Nobody's been able to slow him down lately, so we got our work cut out for us.
How unique is he as a running back?
He's very special. He can run over you. He can run around you. He can step over you. He can catch the ball, and he plays behind his pads. And when he gets out as big as he is, you're not going to catch him.
Let's talk about a few of their weapons when we talk about outside of that, as if that wasn't enough. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, all of those guys. What stands out to each of them individually in the way that Lamar likes to use them?
They all have speed, and they all can do a multitude of things. They can catch the screen and beat you. They can run and catch and beat you. They can beat you down the field. So it's a very fast team. It's a very precise from a chemistry standpoint, especially what they're trying to do. They can pound you, and they can beat you with speed, so that makes it tough.
And what stands out about their defensive front to you?
Tough. Multiple type fronts to make you have problems. They can show you one thing and do another. They have a multitude of pressures that they can hit you with, so we got to be very sharp that way.
And then how about their secondary?
Very good man-to-man corners, very tough safeties, ball hawking safeties, so we got to be sharp. We can't turn it over like we did against New Orleans.
Well, Coach, thank you so much as always for your time. Congratulations on that win, and just congratulations on leading the team through quite a week here.
Thank you.